among my people, the astrologers studied the heavens and its charts to work out the portents for the child's life. Then they wrote some words, almost a sort of poem, to help the child remember the main points. And this was inscribed in tiny writing on parchment and put into a little horn case that was worn on a leather thong around the neck. Later on, when I was older and had learned to read, I liked to take the parchment out and read the words through, just to remind myself. They went like this: named for the strong and twisting tree, of medicine when she finds the way, by earth, air, water, fire. Then will she mend what is broken. The dark teacher will correct her. The fair one will protect her. The strong man will love her. And all may be well. It didn't make much sense to me because, after all, I was not named after a tree but was called by the good Cornish name of Ninnock. The rest of the words seemed just as puzzling. Other early memories are of a huge chamber at the wooden palace, with a fire leaping and flickering in the hearth. I had a big bed, and Erith had a little one in the corner. But because I felt lonely in my big bed, I often jumped out of it and climbed in with Erith. Erith was young and pretty, with red hair and lots of freckles. I used to count them to tease her. Sometimes I woke her to make me tell her a story or sing me one of her Irish songs. I was quite bossy with Erith. I behaved like a little princess who expects the servants to do as she tells them, refusing to get dressed or have a bath or eat my dinner or whatever it was she had to get me to do. Once or twice she threatened to tell my father about my bad behaviour, but she never did. Sometimes my father would appear in my rooms in the evening, just at the time I should have been going to bed, and tell Erith to dress me in my prettiest gown. I had some beautiful clothes made from pieces of gold and silver material, like liquid flame left over from my mother's gowns. I was very proud of myself in them. I had earrings and bracelets made of silver or set with gems, and on special occasions, Erith hung jewels in my long black hair. Erith would put my little squirrel skin slippers on me and comb my hair, and then I would walk with my father in the procession to the great hall. He would sit me on his lap and feed me tidbits from his plate. After dinner, I would be passed around on the knees of knights, and they would all tease me and play with me. Once or twice, I stood on the table and sang one of the songs my mother or Erith had taught me. I enjoyed being spoiled, but I was disappointed that my mother did not have another baby who could have been a playmate for me. Only much later did I realise that my parents also wanted more children. But soon I acquired a new playmate, whom I'll tell you about later. And also Erith let me play with the children of some of the knights and elders. We played marvellous games. The old fort on which the palace had been built was surrounded by enormous ditches and ramparts constructed in a maze to make it hard for enemies to find the way in. We raced one another around the ditches, slid down the ramparts on wooden sleds, learned the mazes by heart, and had wonderful games of hide-and-seek there. Once, when we were playing, a thin, dark-skinned woman approached the entrance to the maze that led to the palace. She had strange black eyes, high colour in her cheeks, and a strong, determined gait. She was dressed in worn black clothes, not much better than rags, really, and she did not wear the head covering that all the grown women except beggars wore. Her black hair hung straight down her back, as if she were a child. She wore boots so old that part of her foot showed through one of them. Her whole appearance offended me. "What do you want here?" I asked bossily. "I have business with Marcus Cunomerus," she said, sweeping me aside and moving into the maze. "He won't see you," I shouted scornfully to her back. After which we children climbed onto the ramparts for the pleasure of seeing her lose her way in the maze. We'd often enjoyed seeing strangers turn repeatedly up the blind alleys until they were forced to ask our help and even to bribe us with a coin. The thin woman did not lose her way, but moved skillfully toward the entrance. The guards must have let her through because a few moments later we could see her making her way toward my father's rooms. "Who was that woman who came to see you?" I asked him that evening. "The one in dreadful clothes?" "That was Uni," he said, and was silent, although he and my mother exchanged glances. I wanted to ask who she was and what she'd come for, but he always discouraged me from asking things that were not my business, so that I did not quite dare. And that was the last I was to hear of Uni for some time.